One plant can stay under 15 to 20 centimeters tall, another carries 38 heart-affecting compounds, and yet garden labels still push both into the same lily-of-the-valley confusion every spring. So how did a low woodland ground cover with 4 to 6 millimeters red berries and 12 to 25 star-shaped flowers end up getting mixed with a much more dangerous lookalike? In this video, we break down the fastest ways to tell Myanthemum from Convallaria, why the berries keep worrying experts, how this plant can spread up to 1 meter by rhizomes, and the quick label checks you can use before you plant the wrong one in your yard. Why do people call it lily of the valley when it isn't one at all? Okay, so somebody is about to poison their dog this weekend because they typed the wrong name into Google. Two plants share almost the same name. One carries 38 chemicals that mess with your heartbeat, and the other is basically harmless. We will get to the deadly part in a minute, because first you need to understand why this mix-up keeps happening year after year. The true lily of the valley is Convallaria majalis. European plant, white bell-shaped flowers. Smells amazing. And it is genuinely toxic. But hold that thought, because I need you to remember that number, 38, it comes back later. The false version is from a completely different family called Myanthemum. You have got M. canadense in North America and M. bifolium in Europe and Asia. Different DNA, different chemistry, but both sit under 15 to 20 centimeters tall, both show up in spring with 1 or 2 green leaves in shady dirt, and without flowers you cannot tell them apart. The nicknames make it worse. The false one gets called May lily, wild lily of the valley, Canadian lily of the valley. Your brain keeps hearing lily of the valley and files them all under one plant. That is mistake number 1. And there is a bigger mistake coming that involves your garden, but we need to cover something else first. Quick way to separate them. Flowers. Convallaria hangs tiny white bells off a curved stalk. Myanthemum pushes up 12 to 25 star-shaped flowers in a short, upright bunch. Bells versus stars. Convallaria hits your nose with perfume-level scent. The false one barely registers. But most people never catch bloom this week. They see leaves. Or worse, the berries. The woodland plant that looks innocent. So why do experts keep warning about the berries? Picture a 2-year-old on a trail. They spot something small and bright red near the ground. It is in their hands before you even notice. That exact situation is why park rangers keep posting signs even though scientists cannot agree on how bad the berries actually are. False lilies of the valley fruits are tiny, about 4 to 6 millimeters across. They start green with spots, then flip to eye-catching red by midsummer. Some European references call M. bifolium highly toxic, but severe poisoning cases are almost impossible to find in medical records. A Mount Rainier Park guide says the Pacific version only matters if someone eats a huge amount. Extension pages for Canada Mayflower just say possibly poisonous and stop there. 3 sources, 3 different answers. And none of them mention the plant growing 5 feet away that could actually kill you. You know that thing people say? Birds eat those, so they must be safe. That logic has put adults in emergency rooms with other species. A bird's gut handles stuff your stomach flat out rejects. And a toddler is never going to measure a safe portion of anything they grab off the ground. Deer go after spring leaves because new growth carries extra calcium and phosphorus for antler growth. Great deal for a deer. Means absolutely nothing for your kids' safety on that trail. That 38 chemicals plant grows right beside this one. People buy the wrong one at garden stores constantly. But before we get into that gap, you need to know what happens when you actually plant this thing in your yard. Because the toxicity question is only half the problem. Is it a pretty ground cover or a quiet takeover plant in your shade bed? 1 pot at the nursery, $9. Tuck it under a tree and walk away. 2 growing seasons later, your hostas are gone and there is green carpet everywhere you did not plant. Canada Mayflower only grows 3 to 6 inches tall, so nobody takes it seriously. Field research shows it building wall-to-wall colonies across acidic forest ground. On the Pacific coast, M. dilatatum takes over entire shaded areas where other plants just give up. Missouri Botanical Garden lists the European version at 0.5 to 0.75 feet tall, reaching 1 to 1.5 feet wide. The Royal Horticultural Society calls it vigorous, up to 20 centimeters high. Both descriptions politely mean this plant will eat your garden floor. in the right place that aggression works for you. A thick mat kills weeds where grass died years ago. Spring green, tiny flowers, red berries later, fills dead zones under old trees. Problem hits when you mix it with slow growers. That mat buries them alive within a season. Pair it with taller stuff or ring it with stones and give other plants protected space. Smart placement turns a colonizer into a design feature. Skip the planning and you are ripping out runners for years. But the engine behind that takeover runs underground, and this is where gardeners get blindsided. If it spreads by rhizomes, what does that mean for your yard? 2 years from now, nobody at the register tells you this. You plant it and a clock starts running on something you will not see for a while. This plant moves through shallow branching rhizomes, thin underground stems a few centimeters under the surface. Every couple inches a new shoot pops up, then the stem forks and keeps going all directions at once. No jumping to new spots, just a steady push that doesn't quit. One reference for MC canadense puts height at 10 centimeters, but width up to 1 meter at a fast rate. The European version stays under 25 centimeters and reaches 0.5 to 1.5 feet within 2 to 5 years. Shallow roots mean easy control if you act early. Dig a trench about 15 centimeters deep around the area or put in a 6-inch root barrier next to your lawn. The best time is early spring or fall when dirt is soft and shoots are small. You can grab the whole root network and pull it up like peeling a sticker off glass. Wait too long and you are fighting a system that has been banking energy underground for months. Give it a boundary and it behaves. Ignore it and every bare inch becomes fair game. Now remember that number, 38 heart-affecting chemicals. That gap between these two plants is way bigger than people realize. The false name sounds harmless. So, what's the real difference from the toxic lookalike? Same garden store shelf, almost the same label. One could send your kid to the hospital and the other probably will not. Convallaria majalis carries those 38 cardiac glycosides including convalatoxin and convalamarin. In plain English, these chemicals mess with how your heart beats. Mild end, nausea and uneven heartbeat. Bad end, ICU. Every children's safety guide says keep it away from toddlers and pets. People still put it in wedding bouquets, which is kind of insane when you think about it. Myanthemum almost never shows up in poison center records. Historical records show indigenous communities eating young myanthemum shoots when food was scarce. Nobody has ever recommended eating convallaria for any reason. That alone tells you everything about the distance between these two. But low risk does not mean go eat it. Some books label the European false version as toxic. Berries carry a possibly poisonous tag in most databases. Simple split. Convallaria is confirmed dangerous. Myanthemum is a question mark. Common names alone will never tell you which one you have got. If the safer one barely hurts anything, why does it keep covering entire forests like it owns the place? Why does it grow in dense patches? And who actually benefits from that? Wildlife or gardeners? One species blanketing a whole forest floor feels extreme until you realize the ecosystem basically ordered that arrangement. M. canadense stretches from Yukon to Newfoundland and south to Georgia in cool, shaded, acidic ground. The Pacific version runs Alaska to northwest California through damp forests. Both build thick mats using underground runners. Seeds barely play a role in how they expand across the ground. Wildlife treats those patches like an all-day buffet. Berries feed songbirds and small mammals summer through fall. Deer chew spring leaves for the bonus calcium and phosphorus they need for antler development and milk production. That thick layer holds water in topsoil and shelters tiny bugs the whole food chain depends on. Gardeners can use the same trick. A dense mat blocks light from reaching weed seedlings underneath, and native restoration groups recommend it to replace invasive ground covers in shaded areas. Free mulch that handles itself season after season without you lifting a finger. Downside, anything small and slow gets smothered. Build around the aggression with tall neighbours, hard edges, and deliberate gaps. Do not toss delicate wildflower seeds into that mat expecting them to survive. All that green on top hides something under the dirt almost nobody talks about. What this plant does below the surface all year changes how you think about it completely. Those tiny white flowers look cute. But what's the plant doing? underground the whole time. People notice flowers for maybe a week, then forget this plant exists. Meanwhile, it is working every single day under your feet. Above ground, 1 or 2 leaves and a stalk with 12 to 25 small white flowers. The European version reaches 20 centimeters with shiny leaves and cream blooms between May and June. Miss that window and it just looks like a random green leaf you would walk past forever without a second thought. Underground is where it counts. M. canadense runs a web of pale stems that root at every joint and keep pushing outward while seed production stays low. This plant bets everything on cloning itself. It stores energy all growing season, then dumps it into new shoots the moment spring arrives. One colony can be the same genetic copy, expanding for decades, looking brand new every April. Timing trick. In northern forests, it greens up early and soaks sunlight before the tree canopy fills in. That brief window powers the underground system for months. In a garden, that means it fills dead zones under old trees and along north-facing walls with basically no help from you. Sounds manageable until you try identifying it when only leaves show. That mistake has gotten confident foragers into real trouble. And the reason it catches them is not the plant itself. It is what grows right next to it. What can go wrong? When you forage a lookalike without knowing the Latin name, a confident guess and a half-remembered leaf shape. That combo has put more people in the ER than hikers like to admit. Classic European mistake. Someone picks wild garlic for dinner and grabs a convallaria leaf mixed in. Wild garlic smells like onion when crushed. Lily of the valley does not. Easy test, right? Not when your fingers already carry the garlic scent from the last plant and now every leaf smells the same. Add myanthemum with overlapping leaves in the same forest, and you have got 3 lookalikes within reaching distance. Convallaria and myanthemum both get called May lilies depending on location. Someone hears that lily is safe in one area, reads that lily of the valley is toxic somewhere else, and never figures out those sentences point at completely different plants in different countries. Convallaria carries compounds that directly mess with heart muscle function. Myanthemum barely shows up in emergency records, and that lighter history makes people guess probably fine while holding the wrong leaf. Only safe rule: get a Latin name match from a local expert checking flowers, fruit and habitat. Photos on the trail, compare at home, never taste anything in the field. Even if you never forage, this naming mess catches people somewhere way more common than a forest trail. Why does this plant have so many common names, and which one is your area actually talking about? 3 websites, 3 names. You cannot tell if they describe one plant or 3 separate ones. M. canadense alone gets called, Canadian May lily, Canada Mayflower, false lily of the valley, wild lily of the valley, and 2-leaved Solomon's seal. European M. bifolium adds May lily and Mayflower. Pacific M. dilatatum throws in snakeberry. Each nickname picks one trait and ignores everything else. Mayflower crashes into totally unrelated plants on different continents. Translations collide with names already taken by convallaria in other countries. So a search in one language pulls results for both the safe and dangerous version mixed together with no filter between them. One thing cuts through. The Latin name, myanthemum, means the false version. Convallaria means the toxic original. Everything else shifts depending on who you ask. Knowing names only gets you halfway. The real moment happens somewhere you visit all the time and probably never thought about until right now. Before you plant it, what quick label checks should you do to avoid a bad surprise? Later, garden store, little pot. The label just says Lily of the Valley with nothing else. You have got 30 seconds before it lands in your cart and the mistake becomes yours for years. Flip the tag. Look for a Latin name, Myanthemum canadense, bifolium, or dilatatum. False version, Convallaria michaelis, the one with 38 heart-affecting compounds we talked about from the start. If only a common name shows up, search it on your phone right there in the aisle. Check height and reach. The European false version sits at 15 to 20 centimeters tall and colonizes fast. The North American version stays under 15 centimeters but pushes to 1 meter wide. A small bed means an edge plan from day 1, or you will be fighting runners by year 3. Match your conditions: partial to full shade, damp ground like a forest floor. Hot, dry corners stress it out. Either add mulch and commit to watering, or pick something tougher for that spot. Look at regional info. Native plant groups might push Myanthemum as a smart local pick or flag it outside its range. Native to your region with a range map on the tag. Strongest green light you will find. 5 things. Half a minute. Latin name, reach, shade, moisture, region. You go from confused buyer to someone who knows exactly what they are planting, why it matters, and how to keep it under control from the very first day it hits the dirt. If you want more simple plant breakdowns like this, hit subscribe. I'll keep bringing quick practical checks so you know what you're planting before it becomes a problem. We'll see you in the next video.